When I was a kid, I loved doing art. It was not very good, but I just loved it because I was making something. And so as I grew up, it kind of became this thing I was known for. Like, I was always creating. I was always in my parents' basement. They made a little art area for me, and it always felt like a place of escape. And I think up until that point, that's what it was. It was like, if I felt good, that's where I went. And if I felt bad, that's where I went. And so as I was growing up, there were different traumatic things that were happening in my childhood. I was having a lot of anxiety, and all of a sudden, if I was feeling pain, that was not a safe place for me to go. I didn't want people to see things that were produced from inside of me if I didn't like who I was. And so around 12, I kind of made this very dramatic decision that I was not going to make art anymore. And from there, I kind of stuck to my guns, and I just was like, no one's ever gonna see anything I make. I made this vow to myself. And so as my anxiety just kept growing, soon came depression, after came suicide, to cover up all that pain, then drug addiction and everything after. And I couldn't catch up with the numbing anymore. And so I got to about 15 years later, and I had stripped myself of a purpose I know God had put in me. It was to make things. And so I had nothing to run to outside of the thing to numb me. I had nothing I wanted to feel alive for. And we have a saying in treatment that's, you want more and more of whatever's not working. And so I was addicted to finding whatever would serve me the least in that moment. And so once I got to the end of that road, what we call rock bottom, or the bottom of my searching, I knew that God had continued chasing me, and I could feel His presence the whole time. And so once I got to that point, I knew I needed to go get help. And I went to a rehab center in Chicago. And I was there for 2 months, locked in a building. And on my first day, I walked in, and I was in my room figuring out where the heck I had just gone. And I saw a coloring book on the table, and there the staff member said that I could keep it. And so I started coloring that night. By the next day, I went to art therapy class for the first time. And I was drawing up a storm in there. You couldn't stop me. I was drawing the second they let me leave. I had my little coloring book. I was showing people little pictures I was making. Everything I saw, I was making it. And I felt like I was 12 years old again, which is beautiful because that's when most of the trauma happened. It was like I was receiving the joy of a 12-year-old again. After that, within that time, by the third day, I have in my journal a list of the girls' names, because they all started asking me, will you design a tattoo for me when I'm out of here that represents my freedom? And I was like, sure. And so I was making designs, handing them out each day. It was like a little business I had. And so by the end of it, I come home, and little did I know that within 6 months, I was going to become a tattooer. And so in those first days, God was already kind of declaring over me that I would return back to who He made me to be. And after that, I began tattooing. It grew significantly more than I could have ever imagined. And I still feel like the little girl being asked in the treatment center to write it down on a little piece of paper. And as it kept growing, I knew that there was something else coming in me that I really wanted to show. If someone can't make it into this room, and they're not able to be one of the couple hundred that I can get tattooed during a year, there's still a way for the art that you feel connected to be in your hands. And so I created a flash round that was day 1 through 6 for people based on the days of creation. And it's 416 designs, and all of them live on the bodies of a person. And by day 7, I knew that God was leading me to then give everyone back those designs as a day of rest. So that's what day 7 is. And so I created this book, and it's a coloring book. It's the full circle that 10 years ago, someone gave me a coloring book that activated peace and joy in me before I knew what it looked like. And now, by creating this book, the goal is to send these to rehabs, jails, and treatment centers, and hospitals in order to put them where hope is often scarce. And I know what it feels like to be in those rooms and feel scared. And even if you're not going to become a tattooer, having access to something where your words aren't sufficient in that moment and you just need something to do that makes you feel like you are loved and you were created, that's what I want these to be. And so that's the first full circle, is that 10 years ago, someone gave me a free gift. And I think it would be a dishonor to what God's done to not offer that back. Because I always knew I'm not the most significant person in this room, and I never will be. I know that whoever comes in, we are a gift to each other, and that God has ordained that moment. I get to sit with someone and change their skin forever. I don't take it lightly, and I think it's the most beautiful craft that I get to share with people, that it lives with them as long as they are here. And it walks out of the room and it lives on beyond me. It will always be bigger than me. And so to have something that can sit in someone's home, that they get to claim the artwork God created with me, is the most beautiful thing I could ever do.